I think October 19th, and we're starting to see a little bit of fall colors around here. There's a hosta that's turning, and I wanted to talk about those of us that are growing palms kind of in marginal climates. I'm in Oregon, zone 8B, and a lot of people like to zone push. They think that they can grow palms in places that are maybe a little too cold. And I'm not one of those people. I'm kind of a lazy gardener. I spend the bulk of my effort is when I'm thinking about how I'm going to design the garden, what it's going to look like, putting the plants in, preparing the soil. But once everything is in and growing, I actually don't like to do a whole lot of work. I just kind of like to look at it. So I am not a zone pusher. I have a few plants that are, I'm in zone 8B. I have a few plants that are kind of on the edge, 8B, 9A. Most winters here are not very cold at all. Last year was the first year in 5 years we had one day where we didn't go above freezing. And it was, I think we were around 30 degrees. So not that bad. Mule palm, this one in the Livistona. I'm kind of pushing my luck. Probably with the Livistona, it will never die, but it may die back to the ground. The mule palm, I do know someone that has mule palms here that survive unprotected. So I think that it should be okay. When you're talking about palms, generally the bigger they get, the more cold hardy they are. And so I don't baby my plants. I don't protect them. The only time I will do some level of protection is when we're talking about freezing rain, because freezing rain can get into the growing point and freeze and cause a lot of damage. So if I think we're going to get freezing rain, then I'll just kind of throw a bubble wrap, or I'll just try and wrap them up somehow. The palms that I think that are a little more sensitive, like your Trachycarpus fortuna, I don't touch them, never touch them. I don't do anything with them. I just leave them alone. Any of the Trachycarpus, I don't even bother to touch them. I have a Livistona natita back there, which is kind of experimental. It's not a common palm. I don't really think anyone in my area is growing one. It has gone through one winter. It took minor damage to one frond. Other than that, it's been okay. In here, I have Dicksonia antarctica, Tasmanian tree fern. I think there's actually 3 of them in there. And all I do is if we're expecting some freezing rain, I'll just throw something on top, a towel, anything, just to keep the frost from reaching the new growing point. But that's about all I do. Brahia, unprotected. I'm not into zone pushing. Like I said, I'm a bit of a lazy gardener, and I rather just plant things that I know are going to be fine. A lot of my plants are rated to zones colder, and I think that's important. If you do choose to zone push, don't forget to plant things that are not ever going to have an issue in your garden. Because if you do ever get a really bad winter, and like those, our friends down in Texas, many of the people protected their palms. I mean, 1, they got record cold like they'd never seen. And 2, the people protected their palms, but they had no power. So there was no heat, there was no Christmas lights, and they lost a lot of their palms. And one of the things that they're saying, or I've heard a lot of people say, is, boy, I wish that I had some more Sable Mexicana or whatever palms that survived and could handle that. These were slower growing palms, maybe not as sexy as some of the more exotic ones, but I think that many of those people realized how important having some of those palms that form a good backbone for your garden. I'm not saying, don't have some things that you can zone push or anything like that. That's fine, but that should only be 10% or 15% of your garden at most, I would say. Really kind of focus on some of these things that are very solid for your zone and get them in early, because we all know palms don't tend to grow that fast. Aside from the Trachycarpus, at least in my climate, the rest, they don't grow so quickly. So even with the Trachycarpus and many other palms, you put in a small palm, I mean, it takes years before they start to get some good size. So, with winter, many of us are kind of thinking about, what we're going to do. And me, I don't do much. I just kind of clean up, cut things back. The Musa Baju, usually when we get our first hard frost, I'll get up there and I'll just kind of trim off the leaves that have kind of fried. And that's about it, really. Just kind of the few plants that kind of die back, I just kind of clean them up. Like a pineapple lily there, all those leaves will be toast, so I clean them up, and that's about it. I want it to be fun and enjoyable, and I don't want it to be a full-time job. Now, some people like that, and if you're that type of person, then go ahead, get these things that you have to protect. This banana is about the most work I'll do. So what I'll do is cut off all those leaves, just rip that thing out of the ground, and I'll stick it in a pot with dry soil in a cool, dark place, and that's it. Come spring, I'll drag it outside and start watering it. So that is the amount of my winter yard work, and everything else in here you see is hardy to my zone. So I am not one to experiment and try and push, because sooner or later you're gonna lose, and I'd rather just enjoy what I can grow and not, the grass isn't always greener, right? I don't know if you can see my friend here at the fuchsias. Well, anyway, those are just my thoughts on preparing for winter, which in my case is just a little bit of cleanup. And then I'm ready to go. And don't get me wrong, I still do kind of stress out when we get the cold weather, especially when we're talking some rain. And the one thing we do get here is wet snow, so it tends to be heavy and it can kind of break and bend fronds, which is not always the best. But anyway, I hope you're doing well and your gardens are looking good, and you're getting ready to put them to sleep for winter. This is our last kind of nice, warm, dry day for quite a while. La Nina's in full effect this fall. We've been cool and wetter than normal, and pretty much every day looks like rain going forward, and the temperatures are going to drop off. Today we're just shy of 70, and going forward we're going to be more like 55, and rain every day. So things are going to get pretty wet here soon. The one good thing is when we do have wet weather, we don't get frost. So the plants continue to grow, or at least most of them do. Anyway, thanks for watching.